Welcome back, everyone. I just want to briefly touch upon one more topic related to today's theme, and then I'll pretty early on in the session open it up for Q&A. So if you have a question, you can raise your hand then. But first, just want to address a little bit how creation happens in my experience when it comes to occupying a state, meaning we take our consciousness, we take our attention, we take our sense of who we are, our sense of being, and we fixate it in a sense, we fix it in a state of being, a state of feeling, a state of conviction, a state in which we know something. Not so much in the arrogant sense of I know things about things, but just knowing with clarity the coordinates, as I said before. Silly as this might sound, but it's a pretty accurate way of saying it. The vibrational coordinates of your desired state of being. Now, one way to do that is to imagine the outcome that you think you desire, or in our case, as we've been practicing here today, you go to the feeling of what it would be like to have your destiny fulfilled, accomplished, that feeling of what I came here for, who I became here to be, what I came here to learn, what I came here to address, what I came here to express, the message I came here to deliver, the version of myself I came here to develop and to be and to evolve into, the type of life that I wished to generate for myself and others, the type of planet I wanted to create for myself and others, has been accomplished. There is a particular feeling. Now, you could say that's a whole host of feelings, right? I just named a whole list of things. However, there is a unified feeling possible that encapsulates all of these. And that's kind of the feeling that you wish to pinpoint, because those are your coordinates. That's how you will tune into that channel, into that parallel reality, which, remember, already coexists because creation is complete. Every possible configuration is here and now. You don't see it because you're not of that frequency yet. But the more that you stay true to that vibration, the more you will be calling that forth into your consciousness. Question, how do you change a dream? How do you change something in the dream? Do you go and get a new job inside your dream? Do you go and get the wood and the tools to build yourself a house in the dream? Really think about it, really think about how do you change something in a dream? How does the world in the dream change? It's intention, no? Will, intention. It's a state shift. It's a shift in your state of consciousness. Another way of saying creation is complete and all parallel realities already exist here and now, you could also say all possible states of consciousness, which are the vehicles through which these worlds can be perceived. Just like you have a physical body to perceive a physical world, there are states, if you wish, of frequencies, states of consciousness through which you will be, inside of which, due to which you will be able to perceive the world that belongs to that particular coordinate, that particular state of being, that particular state of belief, of conviction. And so to make a change in the dream, you simply will the difference. You simply determine the difference. You simply tune into the difference. You shift into a different state. And it's no different here, except here it takes a little bit longer. It takes a little bit longer for that to take on manifestation. So you got to stay true. There's this beautiful process of staying true to your desired state of being. You have to be a little persistent here. You got to have faith in the outcome being already here now and not react to the occurrences that will arise in the dream, almost as tests, almost as little challenges, to see if you are steadfast in your state change. It's the universe's safety trigger. Are you sure you wish to experience a different world? We, the universe, have detected a change in your state of being. You have shifted to new coordinates. However, we want to check in with you. Is this a mistake, or did you really intend to stay here? And you'll get a couple of tests like that. I call those day 2 challenges. Day 1 is the day of your new intention, your new state change. Day 2 is the day of challenge, the test day. You'll get a reflection and echo of the old reality that's extra loud, a little bit louder than it was before you reach day 1 of your new intention. And so it's kind of testing you. Are you sure that you want a new reality? And if you can respond to those challenges with steadfastness, and you can have faith and not be distracted even by your own gremlin, thinking it knows what's going on and reaching back for safety and comfort and all that stuff. If you can stand in the furnace of your transformational power, then you will very quickly reach day 3, which is the day of celebration, confirmation, and transmutation. So it works like that. How do you change a dream? Well, you just decide to change it. That's all. There's a great power in decision. Right now, you could decide anything about your life. And if you decide that it has changed, it will change. It's that simple. So take something. This is just a little thing to confirm it with yourself. Take something in your life, something relatively small, so to speak, but something with a desire attached to it. Like, it would be nice if you had a little bit more money, or it would be nice if this neighbor did mow their lawn, every Wednesday, so it looks even with yours. Or it would be great if your parents reach out to you, or whatever's going on in your life. That's kind of like, it's sizable in terms of it has a desire behind it for you, but it's not so big that you have a lot of ideas and resistance around it either, because it's not something you're struggling with every day. It's just something that would be nice if it would be different. And then you simply decide on that little detail right now. You don't even do any process around it. You don't even necessarily have to imagine it. You don't even necessarily have to go through any elaborate idea about it. You just decide your new reality regarding that topic. You just decide that has now shifted. Boom. That's how you change the dream. At night, that's how you do it. You just decide you're in China, and suddenly you're in China. Now here you might have to buy a plane ticket, but that will come too. It just takes a little bit longer than in the dream state. But essentially it's the same thing. It's will, it's determination, it's decision. The power of decreeing something to be the way that you believe it to be. And if you determine that that's the way it is, and if you can do that with some sense of completion, like, yes, of course, that's the way it is. And then you don't even really have to think about it anymore. Just let it go and it will come about. And if there's something that happens in your life that suggests that this is not coming about, you just don't care about it. You just don't give it any credit. You almost ignore it, or you just don't give it any power. It's like, no, this is not what I decided. So clearly, I'm not yet in the frame where I know I will be, because I have seen the end. I have determined what it's going to turn into. So you don't have to do anything with it in that moment. You don't have to rush it. You don't have to change it. You don't have to fight it. You don't have to create a secondary level of desire to destroy the object for your first desire. There's no such thing. You just stay true to the decision that you've made. You decree that it's so, and therefore it is so. And heaven and earth will move to make it so. And that's your power. That's the power of you as a co-creator. And you can exercise that. And faith is what actualizes it. If you have faith in those decisions, then they will come about, and then you don't need to stress about the in-between moments. What we've done today is simply apply that all across the board to the totality of your life, to the most important thing, which is your purpose for being here. And we zoom out into 20 years into the future, just to excavate our dream, to excavate our awareness that we had as a child of the superhero that we were here to be, the messenger that we were here to be, the learner that we were here to be, the teacher that we were here to be, the creator that we were here to be, that we knew instinctively as a child. But because we've kind of buried it behind other kinds of ideas, and the gremlin, substitute parent, is now for the most part driving our vehicles, we kind of have to excavate this dream. So that's why we did the imagination exercise of, if you had one message to give to the world, what would it be? And what would it look like or feel like for you to be in that position what would you be like? Where would you be like? Who would you be like? What would the people around you be perceiving, and so forth? So we use the imagination exercise to zoom in to 20 years from now, from the timeless central hub where there is no 20 years from now, right? So you withdraw your consciousness from the 2022 timeline of your physical incarnation. You rest in the silent I amness for a moment, that naked awareness before thoughts, just being, boom. In the recognition, in the knowingness that there is no time. And then from that timeless being, you simply tune into 20 years from your old reference point of now. So 20 years from now. And you picture it with the feeling of your destiny being fulfilled. And you can add detail to that and so forth. That's the excavation process, getting back in touch with that frequency, remembering those coordinates that you were so excited to be here for. And then when you remember those vibrational coordinates, that signature frequency that you can then feel and dial into and relate to and imbibe and abide in. Now, by abiding in it with faith, it will be effectuated. You don't need to take any particular action. You also shouldn't stay on the side of like no action. It's just that it's not about action, but action will happen to execute certain things. But action will simply happen inevitably out of the state that you're abiding in. So if you're resting in the state, in the confidence, that's all that means, in the certainty, in the knowingness that your destiny has already been fulfilled. Now it's like you're sitting in the movie theater watching your own movie play out, and you'll be inspired to go left, and you'll be inspired to go right, and you'll be inspired to buy a Ferrari, and you'll be inspired to sell your Ferrari, and you'll be inspired to move to a different state, and you'll be inspired to move again, and you'll be, whatever it is, or you'll just be inspired to sit on your couch and watch a Netflix show. It doesn't matter. The thing is, the action will flow naturally from the state. Nobody's really ever taken action. It's all come from the state of being, naturally. You've never taken an action without your state of being commensurate with that action. It's the state of being that gives permission to the action. So you don't have to worry too much about action anymore. You don't have to try to get to your destiny fulfilled state. You just have to be in the destiny fulfilled state from a timeless vantage point. You have to tap into it. You have to make it part of your consciousness. You have to make it feel natural. That elevated sense of joy, of happiness, of confidence, that it is so. And that what you're watching right now with your physical eyes is just a movie of linear time. But you know the end. That's what's important. So you are rooted in the end. And because you're rooted in the end, space and time and all the objects within them will collapse around this will, just like it does in your dreamscape at night. It just takes a little bit more time. You have a little bit more movie watching to endure and enjoy, depending on how you define it. So that's that about the topic of action. Manifestation happens in response to your state of being. So stay true to your state of being regardless of the reflection. Don't interfere too much. Don't engage too much with the things that you do not prefer, that seemingly conjure up a negative definition. Change your definitions to positive ones because you already know the end. So even if it seems to go downhill, 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 just be surprised and delighted that you had no clue that it could go so far downhill and still end up where you know it has ended up 2 weeks ago. If you bring that attitude to your present life circumstances, I guarantee you're going to float through your valley experiences and you're going to shoot straight back up to your peaks. And they're going to be valleys. So you're going to learn things and integrate things and correct things. But on the whole, you're just going to kind of glide through them with a confidence and a glee that is very powerful. And again, in that freedom, God's love will be so much more accessible to you, even in your practical day-to-day interactions with your own movie and with the people in it. Because you're no longer faced by the circumstance. Because you know the end. If you really knew the end of your life and you knew how epic it was, how beautiful, how accomplished you would feel. If you knew it 100%, you've been in the editing room, you've seen the end, Christopher Nolan has put his stamp on it. Yep, this is going off to theaters now. And now it's showing. Now it's playing in theaters. The theater is your incarnation. So that you're kind of sitting there watching your own story play out and watching all these events come to you. and you're learning lessons left and right. You're fine-tuning things. You're getting new inspirations to fill out along the way. But the end result is known, so you can stay in the frequency of confidence. You can stay in the frequency of alignment with your true soul purpose. And that will give you so much clarity and so much synchronicity and so much flow to your day-to-day experiences that life becomes quite ecstatic, quite consistently. Okay, and I would like that for you, because I know you're going to allow beautiful things to be manifested through your energy field if you stay in that state more often. If only you could stay in that state fairly stably for a week, a lot of things would shift in your life already. If you can imbibe that end result state, just a confidence where you're not even looking for what's going right or wrong, you're just like smiling because you know the end. So why would you look for what's going right or wrong? You're not looking to judge whether you should be correcting this or that, whether you should be preventing this or that, whether you should be protecting yourself from this or that. That whole thing goes out the window. You're just walking around being present to the mystery that is God's magical creation in this very moment, and you're in appreciation of how weird it is. With a confidence at the root of your beingness that just carries you forward, and with a sense of honor and integrity and alignment to that, because you know it's all going to work out. And now life becomes joyful. Your interactions become freed up, no longer tense, no longer protective, freed up, available, wide open eyes and smiles whenever appropriate, and sometimes when not appropriate, especially then sometimes. So, any questions? Ideally about today's topic, although since it is the last session, if it's about yesterday's topic, that's totally fine as well. Mikael, if that's how you pronounce it, I'm not sure.
Hi, thank you so much for this opportunity and to be here with you and with all of the participants, both in Zoom and all the other avenues. Heart is racing right now. This is tremendous stage fright for me.
Oh, beautiful.
I have a question concerning our previous discussion this morning. When I take the time to go back to my childlike state, I feel as though right now the gremlin is a bit more subtle. I feel as though I'm very aware of my thoughts. And so my experience of the gremlin is a bit more subtle at this point. And that is certainly a fear of mine. And then also, let me tap in for a moment. I'm very, very nervous.
Yeah, take your time, love.
Thank you. As I reflected on the exercise this morning, and I was able to, and forgive me, I might get a bit emotional here, as I tapped into the childlike wonder, and I envisioned the childlike wonder and then what that would look like 10 to 20 years from now. I am a bit apprehensive if my imaginative state of what that can become is more of the gremlin and not the true self. How do you have anything that may be coming up that you could speak to me and perhaps others that deal with this, where my intention is it feels incredibly good, but it also, and it would serve the collective, but yet it also feels incredibly self-serving to have that feeling itself? How do I differentiate between being of service to the collective in such a large, expansive way, and then also noting that this is not my gremlin feeding off of the goodness of what that feels like? Thank you.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I love that. Such a sincere intention behind this question, which already indicates a high probability that it's not completely hijacked by the gremlin. Otherwise, if it was completely hijacked by the gremlin, you wouldn't be asking even this question, because the gremlin will never let you ask questions and will never let you be exposed to mirrors that could reflect the truth to you that the gremlin may not like to hear. So there's a high probability that there's a good percentage present there, which is just pure excitement, and it's just a true connection to your soul's blueprint. Now, one thing to understand is that our soul's blueprint excites us. If it doesn't excite us, it's not part of our true calling. Our true calling, being of service to others, excites us. Now, this may look like buying a Ferrari. I'm not kidding. It might look like buying a Ferrari. There's nothing in God's essence or God's non-essence that says that is not spiritual or that is self-serving per se. There's no such thing. That's a human concept. So the best way to differentiate between what is part of your calling or blueprint or destiny and what is a secondary reactionary want that is glorified by the gremlin is to check in with the essential energy behind the desire. Is it fear-based? Is it protection-based? Is it safety-based? Is it egoic boosting-based, but out of the realm of wanting to secure a certain social position for yourself, again, security? Or is it exciting? Is it epic? And of course, you'd love to feel that way about yourself. If you've suppressed yourself, even just by 20 or 30% all your life, that's a lot of pressure. And then if you picture or visualize or imagine some kind of a dreamscape where that's different, where you can truly be yourself, free in your expression, of course, you're going to have a little reaction to that, which feels self-servingly exciting and soothing and like, yeah, it's like relief. But that's a good sign. There's nothing to be worried about. As long as the core intention comes from excitement and passion for expansion and service to others, but that's quite implicit. That's quite natural for most of us in our blueprint, unless we're really service to self-oriented beings, but they are harder to come by. They are probably not watching this live stream unless they're part of some kind of a media station and they're trying to take my words out of context to form some kind of a story about this. So that's possible. But other than that, people that are watching this right now, they come here with a positive intention, which is to evolve, to wake up to more of themselves, to embody more of themselves, to tap into God's love, to be of service to others. And if in that process you are incredibly nourished and nurtured and supported, and you find yourself a stable environment and a loving, joyful group of people to be with and family and so forth, then that's wonderful. And that's absolutely part of your blueprint. So I don't know if this answers your question yet. Does it?
Yes, I believe it does. It probably is something that needs to go from the mind into the soul, so to speak, or into the heart. I don't know the right language for that. Yeah, I just don't. I think my fear is not. I don't want to be perceived as a savior type, and I
That's all
feel
right.
that. Yeah,
We need more saviors.
it feels incredibly expansive, and I just it feels like a tremendous responsibility, and it would devastate me if anything that I were to say or do would be detrimental to the collective or to the greater good. Thank you.
Again, the degree of care that you show for this indicates a strong orientation to service to others.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, I would say to you specifically, don't worry too much about this. You're
Thank
good. Just trust your heart. Trust the nature of your heart. The fine tuning will come. Just take the step that you can perceive now, and then take the step that you can perceive now, like you're watching the linear movie. But energetically, you know the end result vibrationally. So you hold the state of being of that end result, that feeling of excitement, of epicness. You hold that in your heart and you trust the goodness of your heart. And then you watch your life unfold moment to moment with surprise and delight and openness and gratitude. And you trust yourself one step at a time. You trust yourself. And you just naturally allow the most inspired action that comes to you to be taken. And you're going to learn along the way what works, what doesn't work. But that's not really the main point here. The main point is that you trust your heart, you trust your calling, and with confidence you go forth. And you cannot really say anything that will hurt the collective. It's not going to happen.
Thank you. That's probably ego itself, is it not? Thank you.
Nice. Yes. Thank you so much. Beautiful question.
Thank you.
Steve,
Hey, hi. I don't know if you remember me from day one,
I do.
but I just want to thank you again for the first time, because I just realized I didn't thank you, because I sort of seen these things as implied, kind of, but I also need to try to express myself more. But I did have a question, and I actually wrote it down to not get on a tangent, and I ended up with an entire page. But we'll see how it goes, because you kind of answered it already. Like, I came in here, I'm still kind of feeling that nervousness, but the answer you just gave, like, the gremlin doesn't want me to ask the question, kind of resonated and kind of almost instantly evaporated that fear for the moment. But like, we'll see. I guess we'll see how it goes. Because I've always considered I've never really liked labels so much, but I've always considered myself, I had to look up the works, I forgot it up, pantheist and agnostic, through all the trials and journeys that I went on through, which is kind of making the sustainability of the knowing, even though I went through the direct experience, or perhaps due to the nature of the means I attained those direct experiences by, led me into a skepticism, like shadow work type thing, where I would come back and not having a physical teacher, but more just books and websites and things from the past that I had access to. It's pretty much, I have the inner conflict tension of the human that is has been labeled mentally ill, and I have a hard time trust or following the directions, or even recognizing if the directional system of my emotions are correct, based on the medication, because of the medications and the feelings I have on those medications, that society is continuing to tell me that I need to do. And the first night you told me to do the forgiveness, it went great. But yesterday I was having like really hard time, because my peaks and valleys just, they it's like a pulse, like on the planet. It's like up and down, up and down, up and down, like a constant beating that I can kind of hear like all around me. And it's being stuck in the intellectualizing, it's like I can almost feel my skin cells dying, and then like a pop will come out of the environment saying kill or die or death or something. I don't have to try not to put too much meaning into that, because then I'll start wondering, am I thinking of ego death? Am I thinking of environment? But what you just said, how I can't hurt the collective, is just, that took a lot of pressure off of me, because I worry a lot about my negative thoughts and my echoes and any thoughts of and creations. Like, again, a thought might pop up in my head before I even know I have it, and I'll hear, "Oh, get rid of that thought, just kill," or something, to get rid of the thought, because I've been so used to this mentality of, anti this, anti that. If you're having a bad thought, get rid of it. That's what I've been told. My last therapist was just like, okay, well, life is a chore. And I'm like, well, I don't really want to get involved with this guy. But yeah, basically, it's just my next step, because I've been worried that enjoying, before I found you even, I was getting to the point where I was not enjoying my activities, because there was violence in it, but then in the same sense, I could find the joy and the joy in the violence and appreciate it just as much as I can appreciate or find negativity in the comedy, or things like TV. If you like you said, just watch a Netflix show or something like that. But
Do you have a question for me, Steve?
Uh, Basically, is it enough to just try and be happy with doing this stuff with all this conflicting views, I guess?
I don't know what you
And
mean by doing this stuff, but
I
happy,
feel
yes.
it kind of feels like I'm trapped in all the codes of the personas that I've taken over, and I'm like the intellectual part of me that makes what you said yesterday, those layers and layers and layers that just keep popping up, even if I can kind of tap into that.
Can you see the essence in which they arise? That's all that needs to be done to resolve them. If you recognize the essence in which they appear, of which they are made, to whom they arise, if you can recognize the essence and stop focusing so much on the contents, stop focusing so much on the description of the contents, but rest in awareness, which is their essence. Without awareness, no thoughts. Without awareness, no actions. Without awareness, no feelings. Without awareness, no conflicts. Without awareness, no joy. Without awareness, no happiness. Without awareness, no suffering. Without awareness, nothing. Honor the essence of all things, and there you will find the rest that you seek. The easiest way to do this is for short moments, frequently throughout the day. 2 to 5 seconds, over and over again, you stop indulging in your current thought, whatever your current thought might be, and you simply rest in that soothing, essential presence of that which is hearing my voice right now. You just recognize this spacious moment of clear, awake awareness, and you rest in that for a few seconds, and you ride that wave, and then your thoughts come back, and maybe you indulge it again, or maybe you learn to not give it so much meaning, to just let them come and go. If you don't give a thought meaning, it's not really what you thought it was. When you think of a thought as violent, it's not really violent until you give it that label and you stress about it and you try to either take action on it or you try to suppress it. But if you just let it be, not acting out anything, but also not suppressing anything, and instead you rest in the basic space in which they appear, in the basic space of I am, the basic space of awareness itself, then these thoughts will come and they will dissolve back into space. They will come and they will resolve back into space. They will come and they will resolve back into space. This is the fastest path, the most direct path to healing, to resolution, to balancing, to mental and emotional stability, to not giving things excessive meaning, to seeing through the illusions and delusions of thinking, and to rest stably in that clear, awake presence of God, which shines through your eyes right now as that pure awareness. So can you rest in awareness, or rest as awareness, in the midst of your thoughts and your thoughts and your thoughts coming up? Can you rest in awareness instead of indulge projecting onto the thoughts and storytelling?
Yes, I can.
Wonderful. Then just do that 2 to 5 seconds. No more excuses, no more other thoughts. You do that for 2 to 5 seconds repeatedly throughout the day. Not to stress about it, but as often as you remember, you pause with your present thought. You don't indulge. This is the thing. Stop indulging. Don't control, but don't indulge either. It's that in between almost. It's not to control, but it's to not indulge. Simply to remain undistracted as this basic viewing awareness that's already here. It's timelessly here. And therefore you're taking a little plunge in the God essence every time you remember to do so. And you will see that for that moment, the tension around the thoughts very immediately dissipate, very immediately find themselves in sort of a soothing balance or emptiness. Can you tap into that?
Yeah, I think I have right now, actually. It's just, it's a constant thing I have to do at this point, I think.
Yes, but that's true for everybody, regardless of their content. And the thing is, the more frequently you do it, the more automatic it becomes, and it starts to shine through even when you don't do it. So there's a power, there's a compounding effect to resting in awareness that's really beautiful. So at first it may ease you a little bit. Okay, a little bit of relief, a little bit of clarity there. You suddenly see, hey, I don't need to change my thought. I don't need to kill my thought. I don't need to suppress my thought, but I also don't need to act on my thought. I also don't have to believe in my thought. I also don't have to replace my thought with another thought. I don't even have to understand my thought per se. I can just let the thought be as it is with no further meaning attributed to it. And instead I can emphasize the awareness that's present, due to which I can even feel and sense and know the contents of my mind. And so I'm emphasizing the awareness, the basic essence, the nature of self versus the projected contents of self. And by frequently de-emphasizing the contents and re-emphasizing self, capital S, that state of pure awareness being, that's right here already. It's hearing my voice. You just have to relax into it and recognize that it's there. And it comes with a more and more soothing, stable, fluffy, spacious feeling. And it will allow you to kind of rest your thoughts and mind and emotions into that spaciousness. And suddenly, nothing that's happening poses a problem to you. There is a peace with what appears. You don't need to fight it. You don't need to change it. You don't need to battle it to the ground. You find the peace as it is. You uncover the peace of God, the perfection of God to be right here in this moment by not indulging or changing a single thing about your present experience. All you're doing is resting in awareness, 2 to 5 seconds, as often as you can remember. I'd say at least 12 times a day, more if you can remember to do so. Just a restful pause. And in that pause, you recognize the clarity, the vividness, the presence of God, the awareness of being that remains. That's it. And you allow the thoughts to be part of that space and to see that the thoughts do not affect the space. And that if you don't give them meaning, awareness becomes more obvious to you, to itself. Because you are that awareness right now, hearing my voice. You just think you are the body and you think you are the mind, but you are that awareness. So if you allow your experience to be rested in this awareness frequently throughout the day, there's a compounding effect that will begin to build a momentum that will help you get stronger, so to speak, get freer in this space more effortlessly. But yes, it does take a little bit of effort. It does take a little bit of reminding. That's the solution, my friend, if you ask me.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
I should stay on my medication for now until I can get that kind of confidence, because that's the major thing I keep indulging in, because I don't know if it's
I do not
indirect.
know. I do
I
not
don't know.
know. I do not know about your medication, and I don't feel totally comfortable answering that question because I don't know.
Yeah.
If I was super clear on it, I would have given you an answer regardless of all the medical experts watching the show right now. I wouldn't care much about that. But I don't have a clear answer for you on this topic. So search your heart and make your own decision on this as best as you can. And if you have loved ones around you that you trust with their clarity and that they have your best interest in mind, you can discuss this topic with them as well.
Okay. Well, thank you. I hope to see you. I'm really looking forward to joining No Limit Society when I have the opportunity.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Steve. All the best.
You too.
Rest in awareness, huh?
Thank you.
Okay. Alejandro.
Now, okay. Do you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. Yes.
Okay.
Well, I was like with a lot of fear right now, because what I want to talk about is, first of all, my English is not so good. My first language is Spanish, and my second language is German, but I can understand everything very good. Yes, there was like a lot of fear because I want to speak about a very traumatic experience I had 1 year ago. And yes, there's so many emotions. I don't know if I want to cry or if I want to, like so many emotions at the same time. I don't know which one to choose. It's really strange. So because I don't speak English very well, I wrote down the question. Okay. First of all, thank you for your sharing and your service to others. When you talk about childhood dreams and you told us something like talking about it with a child, it reminded me about the last moments I shared with my niece Olivia before being brutally murdered with only 6 years by her own father in a very cruel and evil way. And this honestly makes me feel lesser hope and trust in human beings, because I always felt that he loved her very much. From that terrible experience only emerges the desire to change my life for hers, so that she can fulfill all these magical dreams she had as a little child. I feel I need some hope about seeing that everything has happened for a reason or something bigger for her. And in which possible way can I forgive him for doing something that is so impossible for me to conceive? And with Anna, with only 1 year, I don't know what really happened because her body didn't appear. I don't know, but it's the same feeling. So the question is how to forgive someone like him doing something so terrible. So my head explodes only thinking about this.
Can you understand that if you had the exact same beliefs and perspectives that he has, you would have done the same thing? Can you conceive of that?
Maybe I could think it, but not do it. Really, don't think.
No, but if you had, that's because you have your own points of view. You see, you have your own perspectives. But if you
but
had,
I don't know if I would think it. I mean, maybe there's the possibility that this thought appears, but for me, it's inconceivable to do something like
that's
that.
that's because you are in your own perspective. But if you were in his perspective with the same blind spots, the same trauma, the same beliefs, the same stress, the same perspectives, and you did not know what you know now, you did not have your own perspective. What if your consciousness had only the perspectives, the beliefs, the feelings, the emotions that he has? Can you conceive of the fact that you would have resulted in the same or similar action? It's not behavior I condone, by the way, but you're asking me how to forgive this entity, no?
Yes, it's important because
So in order to forgive
I don't
anyone,
want to feel more this hatred. Sorry.
yes, because it's distorting you.
Yeah.
Right? It's not good for you.
No.
So one way, there's many ways to come to a profound compassion. And an example like this would need radical compassion. This would need outrageous compassion. This would need out of the ordinary degree of compassion. If your true motive here is to forgive someone who did something that society deems so terrible and that is so out of alignment, action that's so out of alignment with spirit, with his own connection to source, then a good place to start if you wish to forgive such a being is to really understand that we only act on what we know. So if our consciousness had the perspectives that these people that have done things such as that, if our consciousness had the exact same perspectives, the exact same conditioning, the exact same ideas, the exact same blind spots, the exact same level of alignment or disalignment from their own connection, then our actions, the actions that would flow forth from that state of consciousness, would appear very similar to what this person has done. Because action is not taken so much. Action seems to be taken. It feels like action is taken, but it flows first from a state of being. You've never taken a single action disconnected from your state of consciousness. Impossible.
Yeah.
So the state of being, the state of consciousness is first, and that's the foundation upon which our entire life experience rests. And our actions are based in that state of consciousness. So my question, since your question is how to forgive this individual in your life, you need to come to an understanding. Most likely, that's one way. There's other ways. Maybe I'll address a few more ways, but try this. In order to forgive this person, you need to understand that they were acting from a state of consciousness that was sufficiently enough out of alignment with their joyful nature, with their aligned nature, with their true nature. Their perspectives were so deviant that the emotional guidance system responding to their state of consciousness was so severe, but it was misinterpreted. It wasn't understood. The education wasn't there. The tools weren't there. The consciousness wasn't there. So in that state, if you can understand that it's not the being that took those actions deliberately, it's the state of consciousness that the being found themselves in or stuck with that was responsible for those actions. So this is another thing that can help, is to separate someone's soul in your own way of seeing, to separate someone's true essence, someone's true essential soul from their human state of consciousness and their human actions. Because all humans are confused to a greater or lesser extent. All humans are distorted to a greater or lesser extent. All humans are out of alignment with the truth
Yes,
of who they
me too.
really are.
I'm completely out of alignment.
Sorry, was that a statement or a question?
Oh, me too. I'm also completely out of alignment. I'm a very, very big gremlin inside. Yeah.
Cute.
But
Well,
I also feel sometimes the bliss and all this and the space, but it's simultaneous. It's like I sometimes it's heaven and sometimes it's hell. I'm here from hell to heaven.
yes. Yes. And can you understand that the essence of this being is not the human persona that they were conditioned to believe that they are, and the limiting perspectives that they were bound to? Can you separate the soul of this being that you're trying to forgive? Separate meaning see it distinct from. So you see their soul and you understand that it's not their soul consciousness, it's not their true essence that wanted to murder that child. It is the result of the state of consciousness that they found themselves in. And probably not just once, but probably continuously, even if nobody around them knew about it. They were probably in that state of consciousness. That suppression, that repression, that misunderstanding, that confusion, that delusion for quite some time, I imagine, before it would lead to something as horrible as that, as an extension, as an expression of their state of consciousness, as an action to a reaction of how they felt. We don't do these things, you see. We don't do we don't inflict pain upon others when we are fully in alignment with ourselves. So the worse, in a sense, or the more extreme the action towards the bellicose or aggressive nature, the further out of alignment it indicates that that being is with who they really are. And who they really are would never dream of hurting someone like that. Can you see the difference between their essence
Yes.
and
Yes.
the state of consciousness on a human level that they were stuck in, that they found themselves bound to?
Yes, he didn't knew what he was really doing, I think. No, like
Yeah.
because of that, you have a repentment after, no, when you see this. Because me too, I have done many things, or not like this, but many things that I say, well, why I have done this? I was very unconscious, no, like.
Exactly. So when it comes to forgiveness, which is not the same as condoning the behavior, but to forgive this being and to give your own heart peace of mind, can you forgive this being by seeing that they were acting from a state of consciousness, but you might as well call it a state of unconsciousness. And this was not representative of who they really are. Can you see that?
Yes, I can see it. Yes.
Okay.
But the emotions are there, no? It's not like.
Sure, the emotions can be there. Simultaneously, you can be forgiving of this entity.
Simultaneously.
Yes. Because
Yes,
the emotions
I
probably,
want.
the emotions are not just in response to him and his actions. Your emotions are probably in response to a lot of ideas that you have about what occurred and so forth.
Mm.
So you can forgive him and still have other thoughts and emotions that are producing guidance, other perspectives that are negative belief systems that are coming to the surface, that are making you feel this way and are making you regurgitate and repeat these types of thoughts. And so the emotions are guiding you. If you feel bad, something in your thinking isn't fully aligned yet to who you truly are.
Yeah, yes, I know.
But I imagine in such a type of scenario, there might be lots of little thoughts that produce quite an intensity of emotional guidance.
Yes, the memories with her, the moments we were happy together, and all this makes me cry a lot.
There's lots of beliefs that you might be having. That's what I'm saying. We cannot fully address all of them right here on this call, just simply because of the nature of time, which doesn't exist. But it would it would take too much of that which doesn't exist to be addressing all of that right now. But I'm saying,
I know, but
to the core of your question, you can have those emotions, you can have those emotional guidance systems flare up still in response to all the little thoughts that you're having about this, or big thoughts. But to the heart of your question is, can you forgive this being? By understanding, not condoning his behavior, but by understanding that his essence is also God. And that he is also made of God. And that his human perspective simply did not have access to the true nature of who he really is. He must have felt at some level deprived and in lack consistently in a certain way for him to get to such a horrific act. So can you forgive him and see that on some level it's probably most painful for him?
No, but she's. I think she has suicide himself. So for him was very easy, no? Like I kill my daughters and I kill myself, and now he is not suffering. It's not more.
I see.
The pain is for me, for my sister.
Nevertheless, and I can guarantee you, if that's what happened, I can guarantee you that in his live review, because death is also an illusion, in his live review, he will be repenting. He will be realizing, not in the way that humans try to project this, like heaven and hell so much, but he is learning about everything that occurred. He is healing in a healing process in that case. So it's not like there's nothing that we do, there's nothing that we believe, there's nothing that we experience that we do not at some level, at some point, learn from. So it's not just like, oh, easy way out, here we go, and I never have to look at this again. Whatever is out of alignment with who we are will be brought back into alignment at a certain point in a certain state of consciousness. And so whether in this life or after this life, he is going through a process of that. He took an action out of severe misalignment with who he really is. So then he is currently in a healing process, a forgiving process, a learning process, and so forth.
Okay.
But it would just be good for your heart to conjure up as much radical love as you can to forgive someone who did something like that. And if you can forgive someone who did something like that, then you can forgive pretty much anybody, no?
Yes.
So this is great training for you, my friend. And what's more important to me is that you forgive him than that you continue to judge him, even though your judgments might be accurate from a human point of view. So again, I understand the horrific nature of this action, but what's important now is that you find the peace and the harmony and the alignment within yourself.
Yes.
And the only way to do that is to forgive the whole situation and to find an understanding of a higher perspective, that we are all eternal beings. We're all learning from each other. And we take actions that are out of alignment when we are consistently out of alignment. And people that do such things, they need the most help. They need the most love. They need the most compassion. And simply to lock them up and to isolate them from society, that might be one practical application of how to treat such individuals. But to do it only in that way is very detrimental to the overall health of that being, of that entity, and therefore society, because we are all one.
Yes.
But we can, but that's a different topic. It's a more broader topic. But for you, the forgiveness is crucial.
Yes.
And it's a beautiful training right now.
Yes.
And you can tap into God's love and then come back to the situation and see how it feels. Tap back into God's love, then review the situation and see if you can conjure up greater and greater compassion. Not agreement with the actions, but compassion for the beingness that was locked up in the mind of that entity.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. And if we can, let's try to keep the questions on topic of this retreat. Thank you. Andre? Ideally of today's topic, because we haven't addressed as much of this.
Hi, Ben. So, yeah, just first of all, I would like to say thank you. Just on this topic, we had there was like the topic on Friday regarding forgiveness. And I think this conversation was very relevant because I was just thinking to myself, like, how can I forgive myself? And I was just trying to imagine forgiveness, and it wasn't working. So by seeing myself in how you just described right now, in the past, I think I would be able to forgive myself. So yeah, thank you for that.
Beautiful. It's actually a great example what you're giving, because then it's easier to forgive other people when we start looking into our own past. You probably all know that feeling, and especially if you grow quite fast, you'll have it more often in your life. I laugh because I speak from experience. But if you look back on yourself 10 years from now, or I can do 2 weeks from now, you kind of feel ridiculous in terms of like just who you were and what you were expressing and how you were seeing things. So if you can apply this to yourself and see that, wow, I would not want to be associated forever with this person that I thought, that I really felt like I was, but I had an intention behind it that was sincere, that was pure, but I didn't know any better, right? If you can see that in yourself, then it also becomes much easier to not judge and hold everyone else accountable to everything they've ever done or said or felt and so forth. And to not keep this picture of someone who they used to be or what they did to who they are now, because that eliminates the very possibility of them going through a transformation process in your presence. If we keep seeing the person we're facing through the lens of what they used to do or how they used to express or what they said to you or whatever, then if we bring that past image and that rigidity into this quantum field of ever-present fluctuations that are always, the particles are always waiting to collapse around the observer, around the consciousness, around the state of assumption, around the state of being, around the causal body belief system. If we bring that to another person, then it's very difficult for them to make a change in that moment. But if we see them as the soul that they are, if we come from God's love, we see them as an extension, as a free agent of God, and we understand that they're not seeing that very clearly right now, but that's okay. But we can still see that version of them, and we can still hold that in our presence when we meet them. Then they have a much bigger chance. In fact, there's a greater certainty that they will feel that and they will begin to shift their own sense of identity. But in this society, we're so addicted to keeping each other accountable for every little thing we've ever done 20 years ago. And it's ridiculous. It doesn't help anything. Like, we just constantly keep ourselves stuck in the same image warfare. But if we open that up and we shine God's love and forgiveness on everyone we meet as often as we can, and we think of the highest of people, even when they've done us wrong, so to speak, that's great. And if you can see this dynamic in yourself, then you can forgive others more easily too. So thank you for
that's very beautiful. And you're right, like the way I see them also changes the way I see myself. So beautiful. Yeah. Also, just one more thing before I go to my question. Again, like yesterday was very interesting because I wanted to ask a question, but then in the second call of the day, this other person asked the question, and she had like an issue with resting in awareness, and I had kind of the same issue. And it was interesting because now I understand why I had that issue. It was because it was very easy for me to get into the imaginative state and embody like how I want to be and self-love. But I was doing that to run away from the feelings that I was feeling in the present moment, which was anxiety and a lot of other feelings. And you said something very interesting. You said that think about like the most, if it could go wrong, like how can it happen? Like the craziest shit that can happen and go wrong. And today I've been doing that. And, you know, just before this call, I had this anxiety. And I was like, all right, I'm just going to face it. I'm just going to look at it. And I'm just going to stay in it. And it was like, yeah, very, very powerful and very, very releasing. And now I know if I alternate between these two, between the imagination state and releasing those emotions that come up by just facing them, I would be able to lower this veil that I have on my soul, and then I will be able to rest in awareness.
Yes and no.
Okay.
Yes and no. Yes, in the sense that absolutely that will make it easier for you. Absolutely, that will give you more natural access to it. But I just want to say no, because it's not absolutely true. Because you can rest in awareness while you feel distorted. In fact, I recommend you do. You can rest in awareness even when you're totally clumped up and stuck inside. You can rest in awareness then. And that awareness, the letting it be as it is, just shining the light of love and awareness on it stably, will release all the knots as well. It performs its magic. But absolutely, I agree with your approach, especially if you sort of take an 80-20 approach approximately, of 80% being in the state that you wish to be in, and then 10 to 20%, when the stuff does come up, you go into it, you accept it, you maybe even investigate it, you get to know what it's about. What must I believe is true in order to feel this way? What is this negative feeling telling me that I'm believing? And then accepting the belief, you know, knowing yourself, accepting yourself, and then whoop, becoming the creator once again, and being in that state of imagination, imagineering, coming from the end result of your destiny fulfilled. And then also, yes, it'll be easier to rest. Not necessarily, not strictly true. It can just be as easy to rest in awareness in conflict states as well as in released states. because the body might feel super released and love might be flowing and the energy body might be open and there might be great alignment pouring through. So you'll feel amazing, but sometimes that can be distracting, and you can actually, to use one extreme example, you could actually forget about God's love. You could actually just kind of like, wow, the gremlin could run away with that. Whereas I'm just using an example, right? Not saying this always happens, but whereas if you're in a really sort of tight space, or you're really conflicted and you're really like, every thought hurts, if in that moment, before you figure out what's going on, what you're believing, before you release anything, you're just in that state of angst. Sometimes I have found it's easier to rest in pure awareness and to go deeper into God's love and forgiveness in that state, because you have no other option. Because life sucks wherever you go in that moment. Life doesn't feel good wherever you go, whatever you think. Whereas if life feels great and fantastic all the time, then I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I think that's a beautiful thing. It's a great sign that you're in alignment. And so spiritually speaking, it's great. But when it comes specifically to being able to rest in this sort of transpersonal awareness, sometimes being in a negative state of mind and body can actually help you see beyond the mind and the body. Rest in that awareness beyond the mind and the body, which includes the mind and the body in its space, but the space itself is beyond the mind and the body. So sometimes negative emotions or afflictive states can really give you the incentive you need to remain undistracted in awareness, because the moment you indulge in your mind and body in that moment, you spin out of control and you feel the pain of it. Whereas if things are kind of mediocre or quite good, then you can indulge continuously in your thoughts and your feelings and automatic thinking without ever getting really the alert that you're indulging. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes total sense. And I was actually watching this video from Bashar yesterday, and he said kind of the same thing. Like, the paradox is that when you have no choice, you actually have every choice. So
exactly. Yeah. Nice. And sometimes we like to push ourselves into a little mental, emotional corner in order for us to realize a greater freedom that's of a whole other paradigm that we otherwise wouldn't explore because life's too comfortable. Now, I am a big proponent of living a really amazing, epic life for the most part, but I'm just saying it's not absolutely true that it's easier, because we're not always more motivated when things flow well to go deeper into the transcendent element of this potential that we have of self-realization. So sometimes suffering is exactly what we need for that moment. So, but yes, absolutely agree with everything you said. If we can just accept that process when it happens, the suffering, and come to a release of it, that's a wonderful practice in general. And I do really recommend that approach.
Yeah, and you're right. Like, exactly the moments that were the hardest, that's where I managed to nurture that free will to be able to get out of that. And then I had the moments in comfort, and that was much more difficult. Yeah. So great. I just wanted to get to my question right now. And my question is, so we were just doing, like, in the morning on my time, we were having kind of the meditation, and I was trying to visualize this destiny fulfilled. And I was trying to do this other times as well. And I was trying to visualize Shambhala and how I would feel in the perfect state. But there is like this resistance that comes up in a lot of ways that has to do with exterior factors, such as, what's going on in the world and everything. And I just wanted to ask you, like, if you have any recommendation on how to keep your faith when it comes to that specifically. I can give you an example if you want to, or if it makes more sense.
Yeah, you can give me an example.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I just go through my day and was like, okay, I'm gonna make plans for a year, and then I'm gonna be like, what if in year, like, everything just blows up? Like, we can't even live in cities anymore. We have to like go like farm like vegetables somewhere, and maybe I have to prepare for that or something like that. So yeah, so I don't know. And then a year goes by, and like, I don't have to do that. I'm still in the city. Everything is fine. So it was just like in my imagination all the time, right? So how do I keep on to the faith, I guess?
Well, in general, I don't think it's a completely crazy idea. I think it's good to gradually, without stressing yourself out, but to gradually begin to learn more about living off the land and stuff like that. I don't think it's a bad idea per se. So if it calls you forth, especially with a sense of excitement rather than with a sense of fear or anxiety, I don't know if it excites you or if you're just doing it out of fear, like, oh, what if all the buildings will blow up? Then we have to.
Yeah.
Or or is it actually calling you like, oh, it'd be so cool to be able to live in this way, or be self-sufficient, or like survive with ease? And
It's half. So half of it is excitement. Like it excites me when I see myself doing that, like just living off the grid and like growing on my own vegetables and having like a cabin somewhere. And then half of it is like, I still enjoy the society and what it offers me. And part of it, I still want to make future plans when it comes to that. And I think that's where the fear kind of squishes in. And yeah.
I see. Yeah. Well, fear is never a good motivator. Well, it's a good motivator, but it's not, it's an indicator that we're not in the state of consciousness we wish to be in. Because again, remember, action flows from the state of consciousness that we're in. So if there's any fear present, if we start acting based on that fear instead of inspiration or excitement, then we're only prolonging the negative timeline or the negative elements that are present in our timeline. So if we want to switch to a different image, a different parallel reality that is more commensurate with who we really are, that is closer in alignment to who we really are, a picture that resembles the beauty and the love that we desire and that we are, then we have to recognize when we're acting out of lack or out of fear and pause ourselves, not indulge that action, pause ourselves. Don't shoot ourselves in the foot. Don't prolong it even more. Just let the fear be for a second. Don't give it too much meaning. And take it as an indication that it's time to do a meditation. And it's time to realign to your true imagination, to what you truly desire, until you feel an upwelling of joy again, of bliss, of freedom, of expansiveness, of knowing who you are again. That clarity that just you cannot access when you're in a fear state. That clarity which you just feel when you know it, and action just comes from it inspirationally. If you're not in that state, learn to recognize that you're not acting from that state. And whenever you're not acting from that state of true inspiration, because you recognize, hey, this seems sensical what I'm thinking, but it doesn't feel like I know I can feel. It doesn't feel like the state of inspiration that I know I can access. Just take that as a signal to slow down your activities and meditate and find your state of consciousness back. See what you're assuming that's not true about yourself, the fears that you've been assuming, and start assuming the wish-fulfilled state. Start assuming that what you wish, what you desire, what would it be like if it's already fulfilled? And dream big, dream big, dream big. Excavate those dreams, excavate that blueprint. Think unrealistically, reconnect to that image. Spend some time imagining it until you can feel it. First you see it, then you start to feel it. And when you start to feel it, you have the coordinates, and then you start to be it. And when you are it, nothing that happens or comes and goes faces you. You are it. You're naturally connected to who you really are because you decided that that's what's true for you because it felt great. You decided that's the truth, and you're not reacting to the movie that's playing itself out. And I guarantee you, then you will be guided and protected to be in your highest timeline, even if shit does hit the fan in city life. You will be at the right place, at the right time, with the right people, receiving the right intuitions, having the right skill sets available, as if magically being guided on Noah's Ark without an actual ark, probably. And you'll just find yourself in the perfect spot. I've had this so many times that there was a flood and I'm just like right there, like 3 meters away from the flood. I'm just checking it out like a cool movie, and everyone else is stressing and their houses are flooding. And I'm just chilling. It's the perfect spot to be to watch a flood. Just one example. But I've had so many near misses, if you will, but they're not near misses, you see. Like, even if it's 3 meters away from you, it's still not your reality. You can watch it, but just because you see it doesn't mean it's your reality. Only that to which you agree as true is your reality. Everything else is mild suggestions around you, just to give you a full palette to choose from. But nothing anybody says or does or experiences defines your reality until you accept that that is true for you. If you don't accept that the crumbling cities are true for you, then either they won't happen in your reality, or if it does happen, you'll be at the right place at the right time to have the best possible experience out of that.
Yeah, you're totally right. And I feel like if you kind of stay in this fear-based thing, you will not allow your intuition and the things that would naturally come up, that would guide you in that direction, actually come up, because you're like in the fear-based
Exactly.
energy, right?
Yep. The fear is just indication that it's time for you to meditate. Get back in touch with your true state, with an elevated state, with your excitement, with your passion, with your self-belief. And then from that, action naturally flows, because all action flows from state of being. You've never taken an action outside of your state of being. It's always been a reflection of your state of being.
Perfect.
And then you'll know what to do. You know that state when you just know what's true for you? And it doesn't matter what anybody else says. It doesn't matter what seems to happen or not happen. You just know, this is it. This is what I need to do right now. Bam. That's the state we want to cultivate more and more often. That's that true sovereignty of spiritual alignment, of true intuition, of true power. Yeah. So if you're
And
not
also,
in that state, then your first priority is to get into that state before taking any action, as much as possible. Of course, don't stop in the middle of the highway.
Yeah.
Yeah, continue the action of walking. Sorry, go ahead. I'll stop interrupting. There's a little delay here, so every time I dot.
Yeah, and also very briefly, do you feel like this consciousness shift will happen like all at once, just from a date or the other, or do you think like it's a gradual thing that we will start experiencing different shifts? Just out of
You're talking about the collective?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, it's been happening, and it'll continue to happen. So I'd have to say it's gradual. Now, it's quite sudden if you look at the timeline of the history of mankind. It's quite sudden. But if you look at it from a single generational point of view, it's quite gradual. But it's underway, and things are speeding up. They continue to speed up. Windows are opening, windows are closing, loops are being formed, timeline splits are occurring left and right. So we're in quite a chaotic intersection at the moment, and this will continue for a few more years. But I have been recommending people really align themselves to their truest frequency as much as they can. Decide to live their true life, be authentic to who they really are, follow their true excitement, because it just helps you get anchored in the frequency and the timeline you truly prefer to be in. And yes, timelines are splitting up. That means that you won't at some point see other timelines anymore, besides your own and those right next to you. And there's already timelines that you don't even know have split off from yours because you don't see them, because they're too far removed. There's already cities destroyed and others. But you don't know that because they're too far from your perception, just like the parallel realities, images. If you're not in that dream, if you're not close to those coordinates, you will not be experiencing that. Just like Bashar says, you can only perceive what you are the vibration of. It's literally not possible to perceive anything that you're not resonant with in this moment, that you're not focused on, that you're not of the vibration of. You cannot hear the radio station play that's on a different channel than you're tuned to. And at some point, you know, when you tune the radio to like a station, but there's one right next to it, so you can kind of get both stations. That's how it's been times a million for humanity for the longest time. And now the split is happening because the energy is elevating and the solar activity is amping up. And I won't go too much into all that, but basically, as this vibration increases on planet Earth, it's like a pressure cooker. And all these timelines, all these ingredients that have coexisted in a soup of different cultures and different beliefs and all that stuff, they are now being kind of forced to the surface to see each other, and everyone's getting this final chance to choose what they want to believe in, to choose who they really are. And you can see it in the chaos online and all the psychological warfare that's going on, the political warfare, the actual physical warfare. But also the social media warfare is probably the most active warfare at this moment, is people's perspectives and opinions and memes and this and that and reactions. It's everyone trying to figure out who the fuck they are. And we're using each other's shit for this to find out what's our shit, what's really truly our stuff, and what is not ours. So I do highly recommend people meditate. People repeat this retreat. Tune into this type of work. Give yourself that joy, because you will be thankful for it later on. As these realities continue to split off, And as these sort of frequencies of the, these parallel songs that you can kind of hear 2 or 3 at the same time if you're close enough, these are going further and further and further apart, vibrationally, metaphysically speaking. So right now, what you're tuned to is going to form almost exclusively your reality in a few years' time, and you're not going to be able to see much at all of the other options that are available. This is a natural process. I know it sounds very artificial, but it's not. It's actually a cosmological phenomena that happens like clockwork. And we're in that particular transition right now. That's why there's so much development so fast technologically, the internet, the connectedness of people, so many teachers out there now, so many people that are following a new calling, next generation being so much different from the previous one, and so forth. This rapid change is all a response to this heightened energy. So yes, things will collapse in certain realities, and they will be rebuilt more beautifully in other realities, and so forth. And the ones that you experience are the ones that are commensurate with your frequency. Now, I'm quite enjoying the one I'm in, and the fact that you can perceive me now is a good sign for you, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm very grateful for that. And you're totally right. Like each time I like Google like inflation, or I just go like on Twitter, I feel this burst of uncertainty, and it just shows how untrue that is to my current vibration. And I think that's where kind of the fear state comes from.
Sure. Yeah, but then there's already a lack belief there, you see. You believe, you desire something, right? And you believe that there might be something that causes lack for that it cannot happen, that something will get in the way between what you truly desire and what will be. So if you can find that lack belief and just remember that's not true, that you create your own reality through your state of being.
Yeah, you're right. Like I would be happy if that would be true, or that would not be true. Yeah.
Yeah, so then make what you desire to be true for you. Just determine it. I want everybody, by the way, to start playing around with this. Simple things, daily things. Start proving it to yourself. Start proving the power of God, that you can actually commend that if you do it with truthfulness and honor. So just little things. You have the right to change your creation. You are the co-creator. You're not just here as a victim needing to take God's orders. It's not like that. So when I say my will is thy will, it's a matter of alignment. It's not a matter of total submissiveness. It's a matter of alignment. It's a matter of surrender. But you are here to be a vessel of God's creation. And if you have a true desire, it means it's connected ultimately all the way back to the Creator. Otherwise, you wouldn't truly desire it. So, but that can even translate to little things. And I want you guys to start practicing that you simply decide something is, and then let it go and watch it happen. Just that. Like, oh, it's going to be sunny tomorrow, even though the weather station says it's raining. Just decide, no, it's sunny tomorrow. It right now is sunny tomorrow. Bam, done deal. Spend 10 seconds on it, let it go, and watch as it's sunny tomorrow against all odds. Anything like that you encounter during your day-to-day life that you're just like, oh, let me tweak this a little bit. Let me co-create this a little bit differently. Let me determine this. Just make a determination. Also about yourself, about your self-image, about your body, about what you're creating in the world, who you want to be, and so forth. Your relationships. Begin to decide what is true without insistence, just with a knowingness that at some level, somehow it is done. It is true. Start deciding what life is and watch how it will reflect it back to you. Sometimes more immediately, other times it takes longer because maybe you have more doubts in the way and there's more to learn there. So I'm not saying this will be instant magic all the time, but you can definitely conjure up enough evidence for yourself to realize how powerful you really are if you're genuine in your alignment to your truth, to your desires, and you believe. And if with that power of faith, you indeed can move mountains.
Perfect.
Do you feel complete in your question?
Yes, and I'm very excited now about the future. So thank you.
Wonderful. And that's your greatest protection right there. That's your greatest guide. That's your greatest alignment. To be excited about your future, no matter what. That's it. Then you're just watching in surprise and delight, even as the world falls apart. It can be enjoyable to you as the world falls apart, because you can navigate this perfectly and be there for people that need you to be there for them. And like, not even in that way, but you can just be the example and other people can join you in that. But you can slalom your way around the apocalypse. Boom, 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 boom. Just by staying vibrationally aligned with who you really are. And that's a great example for others to then join. It creates a bridge for them into that new planet, essentially. See you in Shambhala. Tanya?
Hi, Bentinho.
I can hear you, but very faintly.
You
Say
hear me
something
now?
again.
Hi.
A little bit, yeah. We'll turn our volume up on my end. 1 second. Say something again.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you.
So, hi, Bentinho.
Hi.
Um, I just wanted to know, yesterday at one point you talked about feeling the others, the call of others, and how can you like stay aligned and not get confused about feelings of other people or what is going on around in the situation of people.
Your question is how to not get confused by that?
Yes, or to, because you said that you can hear people and then you can close also, so not to hear everything.
Mm-hmm.
And to be clear and close and open.
Yeah. Well, in general, the more focus you create, the more you'll only experience what's relevant for you in that moment. And so then you can deliberately open up to tune into certain realities or other people's experiences. But it doesn't necessarily have to infiltrate or invade your experience and confuse you if you have your own center clear. If you know who you are, then over time, you'll develop a keen sensitivity to what is simply your own state of being, your own frequency, and what is another offering from another being, whether innocently so, or whether of malicious intent, maybe like a psychic reading, or just the collective, like calling out in suffering, calling for clarity, and so forth. The clearer you are on who you are and what you feel like, and the more your focus is rested in that stably, then naturally you're, in a sense, you could say you're more shielded. You know, like you're just more, that nothing penetrates that focus, that sense of being, that centeredness, unless you want it to, or unless it's a really intrusive kind of greeting. But then also you'll be able to sense that something else is happening that's not really yours. So just get more and more focused and aware of who you are and determine who you are also. Like be who you know you truly want to be, who you truly are. Decide that's true for you. And you will have a sense of powerful alignment, powerful stability. You'll feel more connected to God, to this universal energy. And at the same time, at least speaking for myself, there's also a great sense of unity with everything. So although there's also an individual clarity as to who I am, so to speak, what's my personal energy, but there's also a great sensitivity at the same time that doesn't distract me anymore. There's a great sense of that I'm not particularly more this body than I'm anything else. So there's also a sense of the environment, being one with my environment, being one actually with all that is on some level. So there's a great unity. It's not a shieldedness like that, like I'm separate. So in my case, at least, and what I recommend is it's a simultaneity. You are the ocean of oneness. You shouldn't necessarily have to block yourself from things. In fact, see everything as God. Only God is. And when you know that only God is, the clearer you know that, the more of that stabilizing, focused energy will get channeled through your body and your mind. And this will develop an aura around you that is clear and pristine and loving and nourishing to yourself and others. And it's sensitive, and it's a natural shielding for your individual. Does that make sense at all?
Yeah, it makes sense. Thank you.
Okay, wonderful. All right, one more question, and then we'll call it a weekend. Just Jay.
Hello, can you hear me?
Loud and clear, my love. Let's turn the
Excellent,
volume down a little bit,
excellent.
please.
Oh, okay. I'm so excited to be speaking with you, Bentinho. My question is from something that came up yesterday. You mentioned about, and you mention this all the time, that if we have an unpleasant emotion, we believe something that is not true.
Yes.
I struggle with that when in extreme cases of things that, like, you could hardly argue it's true. Like, let's give the example from just a little earlier today. Say I came to you and said, my brother killed my niece. Every time I think about this, I feel terrible. I know for a fact that it happened. It's true. What am I believing that is not true? How do I get to the not true belief from something that terrible?
It's not that the event didn't happen, that's untrue. What's untrue is the way you're thinking about it does not align with the way that your inner being is seeing it. You're looking at it from lack, from mortality, from being deprived of something, from a victim state of some kind. And you're looking at it from the very human facts, which makes total sense. But spirit is letting you know it's not true. Otherwise, it would feel great to think these things. So there's something in your way of reasoning, in your way of interpreting the events, not the events themselves, but the way that you're interpreting them, that are based in lack, and they're not based in love. They're not based in joy. They're not based in abundance. They're not based in eternity. They're based in transient human perspectives. That's why they will ping you, because they separate you from who you really are, to see it in that way. That's the guidance there. It's not that the event didn't happen. It's that the way you're thinking about it, or the state from which you're seeing it, is not an optimal state to be in. And that's what the emotional guidance system is letting you know. So that you can then use that to upgrade your way of seeing it, to come closer to the way God sees it. And you know you're seeing it the way God sees it when you feel love, stable love, in response to thinking about these events. Doesn't mean you condone the action, again. Doesn't mean the event did not happen. Doesn't mean there's denial. It means that your emotional response that is left is that of love. And I know this is hard to fathom for the human mind and the human conditioning, but it's not a negative thing. It's not a negative thing to view a negative event with unconditional love. That's not a negative thing. We have unfortunately made that wrong in our society. Somehow you're an asshole if you view a negative event with love. And somehow you're a savior and you're a saint if you're adding more negativity to an already negative event. Then you're on the good side. Then you're part of the good people. Me too, me three, me four. So in that way, we're all adding to the negativity. We're all adding to the negativity. And that's what we're training each other to do. But if someone breaks that cycle and starts viewing a negative event from compassion, from love, from understanding, from forgiveness, even with love and joy and bliss in their hearts, then suddenly they're a monster or they're a bad person. But that's just a very, very, very low level human way of thinking. And we should definitely get rid of that right now. Get it out of our systems. Stop judging ourselves for being able to view negative events with love and joy. It's the best possible response energetically we could ever give. And it gives us access to the highest intelligence and intuition and timing and solutions that just adding to the negativity with more sort of getting social validation by also thinking it's a terrible thing and that's a terrible person and shouting it online All that stuff is what's destroying this planet, and it's a timeline you do not wish to be on. Trust me. Transcend that shit and do it today. Attain to God's love. Do not listen to human conditioning. You have the power to transcend this once and for all. Do not fall for the trap of social validation that has become internalized as now your own justice system. It's so flawed. The only just thing to do is to rest in God's love, to attain to God's love and compassion and forgiveness as much as you can. That's your only guidance. It's a fast track to your highest timeline. And the time is now. That's my opinion.
Thank you.
All right, my friends, what a beautiful weekend. I so enjoyed this. I feel like the intention that knocked on my door about a month and a half or 2 months ago for this has been fulfilled, as I knew it already was. And therefore, I'm just watching this event unfold. I'm watching my body speak words that I haven't prepared. And I'm watching you guys respond. And it's this beautiful show because I know that this intention has already been accomplished 2 months ago. So, wonderful. It's been truly great to share time with you guys and to see your faces and to hear your questions and to interact with you one-on-one in front of a rather large audience. It's been a true joy. I've really enjoyed watching this portion of my movie unfold and this segment of my destiny fulfilling itself and yours. I will guide a short meditation and yes, I will create a short little plug here and just explain a little bit about what No Limit Society is in case you are interested. Basically, we have a session once a week that is of this nature. We go a little bit more in depth because it's a more trained environment and there's more opportunity for people to have their questions answered also by their group guides and the other people in the community that have been part of this No Limit Society program for a longer period of time. I wanted to keep this as accessible as I can, this weekend retreat, because it's a really public thing, right? And the intention is to reach as many people. So I want everyone to understand it. Not saying some of the concepts didn't go in depth, they did. And the essence is already addressed. Like, you don't need more than this. You really don't need more than this. However, if you like to be part of a community that is training in this stuff, deepening in the nuances, supporting each other consistently, on a consistent basis, if you want this more consistently than just for this weekend, then I can highly recommend you check out No Limit Society and consider it, see if it's something that resonates for you. It's a session like this once a week. And soon I will resume also the chat-based Q&As. So I'll have my own personal group. It'll be visible for all people in No Limit Society. People can ask me questions there and I'm responding. So it's kind of like you're just getting text messages several times a week. That is in a Q&A format. As well as you have interaction with your own subgroup. So you get to know 20 or so people at a time for 2 or 3 months at a time. And then we switch it up. So gradually over time, you get to know more and more people. And there you get to practice together and share your processes and so forth. We'll just leave a link in the YouTube description. Do it that way? Yeah. Cool. Huh? Yes. Sweet. I think it's bentinhomassaro.com/No Limit Society, but you'll find it on the website, bentinhomassaro.com. But we'll also leave a link in the YouTube description. So that's that. Any other announcements? Things I should be mentioning? I don't think so. Nope, that's it. That's all we've got right now. It's the only program running, I think. So let's take a deep breath together and relax our thoughts and everything we've accumulated during this beautiful time together. Give even these teachings and the insights that you've gained and the processes that have resulted. Give all of that back to God as well. Because even your insights are distortions that can stand sort of in the way between you and God's love. Ultimately, everything is more and more released, even your own insights, even your own precious processes and emotions and ideas about things. And if you can give up your greatest realization, then you really know you know God. If you can, without any reluctance, give away your biggest realization, then you know that you personally have become acquainted with what we could call God. So do not be afraid to lose anything, because that which is real can never die, can never be lost. If it can come and it can go, it's not God, but it can be loved by God. Everything that comes and goes can be loved by God, but it doesn't affect God. So take another deep breath and surrender. Take one more deep breath and relax even more. And notice just a restful quietness in the background of your experience, like a basic space without beginning or end, suffused with a cognizance, a sentience, an aliveness, an awareness of being that cannot be denied. Right now, this space, which is inherently self-aware, even without your effort, it is self-aware, is that which is hearing my voice without any of your effort on your part. That which knows that you are here right now. That pure knowingness is formless. It is like space. Awareness itself is like the space that holds space for all the appearances of your life, all the sensations and perceptions and colors. All the five senses and everything they perceive that you call life, which is really just a tiny slice called the world. But what the senses perceive to be life is just a small slice of possibilities that appears inside of this space-like, naked, pure being that is aware. This isness at the very root of your beingness, this I am, is knowing that I am that I am. I am that I am that I am that I am that I am. Rest in the I am. Rest in that awareness, aware of itself. In every moment, awareness can be aware of its own awareness, or can be indulging in the descriptions about the content. Those are really the main two options on a moment-to-moment basis, at least from the perspective of enlightenment or self-realization. We can either indulge what our minds are projecting, or we can pause and emphasize the fact that right now there is an awareness of our existence. And even if we're just able to recognize it for a split second, that split second is a moment of enlightenment. It's a moment of fulfilling the core intention of all creation, which is the Creator wants to know itself. When you recognize this naked state of awareness prior to your thoughts, for a split second, you are fulfilling directly through your free will the intention of the universe, for the one God to know itself. Rest in this awareness, even as thoughts and emotions and appearances arise. Become acquainted with this stability that never leaves you, because this awareness, my friends, it's hearing my voice right now, 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 and it's hearing my voice right now. There's an ongoing nature. Notice the ongoing nature of this awareness, how it never leaves you. It never changes, no matter what appears. The formless basis of all appearances continues to exist in a timeless now that does not know past or future. That is your essential nature, and it holds the keys to all the liberating experiences that you seek, to all the healing and the realignment that you desire. Rest in this pure awareness, this pure God state. more frequently throughout the day for short moments. Reconnect with your true self in this way. Pause all thoughts for just 2 to 5 seconds and recognize the space that is recognizing, the space that is aware. And begin to know that that is your gateway into God, that that is somehow part of God's essence. That your individuated sense of consciousness at its very root is actually the universal beingness, the one infinite creator. It's accessible through you because you did not appear from outside of God. You did not enter God from another universe. You came from God, you are God, you can never leave God, you exist inside of God alone, because only God is, and therefore you must be able to directly be and experience this divinity. And you can and you are. You are God. Be still and know that I am is God. And then as you open your eyes and interact with your day-to-day movie life again, remember you're watching the movie of unfoldings and you already know the end. Rest confidently in the end because you've seen it and you've placed it in your past or your present. And so it has to be that way because you decided it is so. Thank you, my friends. I love you very much. This has been a true joy and delight. And well, I hope to see you again and do this again sometime. It'll be wonderful. All the best to you. My heart's always with you. Thank you, team.